let some of these Hamas guys leave and get asylum into other countries and not bring justice to them, that's like letting the Nazis get away with what they did.
Well, that's exactly what I was thinking. My family suffered from the Nazis because my grandfather died and, he was murdered in Auschwitz. And if at the end of the war, the Nazis would have said, okay, well, we'll stop. We'll go away. We're not going to kill the Jews anymore, but we need to stay somewhat in power in Germany. We need to keep our weapons. And the whole world would have gone like, are you crazy?
Yeah.
No, we can't trust you. You've killed so many million people. No, you've killed 12 million people. 6 million were Jews. No, you're not. None of that.
Right.
And then, so why is it different for Israel? Why is it different for Hamas? Why the double standard? I'm so sick of that double standard, Brendan. Shalom, everybody. This is Olivier here, and we are at a conference in Norman, Oklahoma, and prophecy conference, one of the big ones. I think like 25 speakers, and one of the speakers is my dear friend, Brendan Holthaus.
Good to be here, man.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
You've been on the road, I've been on the road,
Right.
and I'm excited to be able to spend a few minutes with you before it gets really busy.
Yes, I know.
And I was thinking about the rate at which things are going on in the world right now.
Yeah.
And you and I are old enough to remember when we used to read newspapers.
Right.
And we used to read newspapers, and the saying was that, if the news gets old the next day, you use the newspaper at the market to wrap the fish.
Right.
You use it to wrap the fish and sell the fish.
Right.
And so really, we do videos right now. We do updates, we do videos.
Yeah.
I did one with David Tell the other day, and it sat on my computer for 2 days. My son called me back, he said, Dad, you can't use it anymore.
Right, yeah. It's that fast.
It wraps the fish,
Yes.
the next day. It's it's just so crazy. I had to even adjust my message I'm doing tomorrow because of what's happened in the Middle East with the Trump peace plan.
Right.
So I want your first reaction because, I voted for Trump. I think he's the best option we have right now.
Yeah.
I'm looking at what's happening, and I have an opinion, but I want to get your first take. You heard about that plan, and of course, the hostages within a few days of this video being published will be released. That's good.
That's good.
That's good.
We'll
There's
say that.
nothing wrong about that. I'm happy for the family. The families. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
But what do you think of that plan? The 30,000 feet view right now.
I think there's some major problems with it, and let's start with the first thing that I think is a problem. It divides the land of Israel, which is a no-no, okay? Because it's going to give control of Gaza not to the Israelis, but it's going to give control to Gaza by technocrats.
Who are they?
Now, that's the thing. I don't know what a technocrat
CEO
is.
of Costco.
Something like that, right? Or what? Is it Peter Thiel? Is it
Musk?
Elon Musk? I mean, why did they throw that in there? And then it's going to have a board, and then Trump's going to be on the board, and then a guy by the name of Tony Blair, who's a globalist. He's one of the top 6 globalists.
Why is he coming out of why him all of a sudden?
He came out of his cave. I don't know. It's like he was in a dark cave and then someone pulled him out. I don't know. He got released from...
What is he bringing, in your mind, to the table, Tony Blair?
Well, the problem is, as you know, globalists, number one, hate Israel. But number two, they want to rule the world, and they think they're the elitists that are smarter than everyone else. And so they're going to bring their globalist mindsets to Israel. And some of the globalist mindset was to change Jerusalem into an international city, and this interfaith dialogue, trying to get everyone to come do a kumbaya together. So their whole mindset, as far as the Middle East is concerned, is messed up, and it divides the land. So now Israel has to pull back and allow this Gaza to be controlled by these technocrats. Well, whether it's Trump or whether it's Hamas or whatever, you can't divide the land.
No, you can't.
That's the problem.
That you can't. That's an issue.
And so my thing is, I thought Trump was going to go, when he first said it about a year ago, we're not having a 2-state solution. That's out. That's over. But here it is back again. So I did some investigation. And I'm like, who wrote this up? Steve Witkoff wrote it, along with Jared Kushner.
Kushner, yeah.
And I'm like, there you go. There's the problem. And we got two individuals that don't know anything about the Middle East. They're looking at everything as a financial transaction.
A business, like a deal. Yeah, business deal.
Instead of dealing with the ideology over there among the Muslims and Hamas, Hezbollah, all that, Iran, and not considering that at all. And then getting the weight of all the other Arab countries, Qatar, who funds all the terrorism around the world, Turkey. Saudi Arabia was involved, and a number of other Islamic countries that are behind this.
Yeah.
And Trump's just saying, well, this is going to bring prosperity and financial, and he's got a buy-in by all of them. But my thing is, I've studied, and you have studied the Middle East. I know Qatar, I know Saudi Arabia.
They're not friends.
They're not friends.
No, they're not. And I don't know if you remember, you mentioned something about the idea of two-state solution that we thought it was gone.
It was off the table.
And I believe it's definitely off the table since October 7, 2023.
Yes.
As from Israel's perspective, that is not a reality. But if you remember, you and I did an interview, about a year and a half ago, of Caroline Glick.
Yes.
It was an incredible time we had at her house. What an honor. What an honor. It was awesome. And I remember, and I never forgotten, I quote her all the time, she said the two-state solution is a euphemism for the final solution.
That was excellent. Yes.
And so, the final solution, in case you don't know what we're talking about here, was the euphemism for the killing of the Jews during the Second World War. That the Nazis killed the 6 million Jews. That was the final solution to the Jewish question. So when we refer to the final solution, this is killing all the Jews, and that's what she was referring to. She said it's two-state, one-state doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's a euphemism for the final solution.
Yeah.
And so that's that. I think that ship sailed. But you mentioned. I want to talk about that for a minute because it does not compute in my head. Interfaith dialogue between whom and whom? Please explain.
Well, it's hard to explain because there's no such thing as interfaith dialogue. But somebody, Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, put in there, I think it's point number 18 or whatever, that we're going to have an interfaith dialogue with the people at Hamas. Really, you're going to sit down and have tea, and we're going to talk about an interfaith dialogue. Well, in my mind, when you say interfaith, I'm reminded of Rick Warren doing an interfaith dialogue with the Yale document saying Muslims and Christians worship the same God, which is false. And I don't understand how you can bridge Christianity or Judaism or the West with an Islamic mindset. That's the problem.
They're hoping to compromise. That's what they're hoping for.
Yes.
I have a cartoon in my presentation tomorrow that is Hamas holding a piece of paper saying "Kill all the Jews," and then Bibi is looking at him, and then there's a United Nations person in the middle with a big UN logo on the face, and the UN guy says, "Can you at least," talking to Bibi, "can you at least meet him halfway?" Kill all the Jews. Could you at least meet him halfway?
Yeah, there you
compromise.
Go. There you go. That's it.
So what's interfaith dialogue with radical Islam? We have two different ideologies.
That's right. We are that. It's, other people have said, with that ideology, that's not compatible with civilization.
No,
because it's a death cult, and it's a death culture. And so I don't really understand what that means. Okay, the other thing I don't understand is the justice of all of this. Look, I'm for getting, the hostages back and the dead bodies back and everything like that. But Hamas, the leaders that are left over, they get to have asylum and go into other countries, and they walk away from this after the massacre that I saw and you saw, and anyone that had any inclination to see what they saw on October 7th. I saw people getting their heads chopped off with shovels and hose, and
I've seen some of those videos, and recently we went with Keith, and we met people in different cities, and we engaged in conversation, and a lot of them had videos on their phones of things that they were sending to each other, and I still have them on my phone, stuff that you can't show anybody because you cannot unsee it.
Raping a Jewish girl so many times you broke her pelvis. putting babies in ovens, and yet
cutting heads. Somebody was alive. I would.
yes, right. It's awful. And there's a 45-minute thing that I think everyone needs to watch.
Yeah.
Okay. But anyway, I'm going off of that, and we're going to let some of these Hamas guys leave and get asylum into other countries and not bring justice to them. That's like letting the Nazis get away with what they did.
Well, that's exactly what I was thinking. I mean, my family suffered from the Nazis because my grandfather died, and he was murdered in Auschwitz. And if at the end of the war, the Nazis would have said, okay, well, we'll stop. We'll go away. We're not going to kill the Jews anymore, but we need to stay somewhat in power in Germany. We need to keep our weapons. And the whole world would have gone like, are you crazy?
Yeah.
No, we can't trust you. You've killed so many million people. No, you've killed 12 million people. 6 million were Jews. No, you're not. None of that.
Right.
And then, so why is it different for Israel? Why is it different for Hamas? Why the double standard? I'm so sick of that double standard, Brendan.
Yes.
It's like everything that, when you look at Israel, the way they're handling the war, it's so above and beyond what needs to be done in conventional warfare.
It doesn't make sense. You hit the nail on the head. It's a double standard. Because at the same time, there's not a hostage exchange. In this peace plan that Trump had draw up, it allows for Palestinian terrorists to be released from prison. They'd already done this before in the second wave of this, but now more are going to be released back into society to what? Are they going to be
prepare
reformed?
For another one?
They'll do another
thing.
thing.
They're not going to reform. They're
not going to say, hey, I'm sorry, I'm going to turn a new leaf now.
They're probably planning the next move in prison.
Exactly. It's that. And so we're going to release the terrorists back so they can do more activities against the Jews and try to kill Jews. I don't understand. And this is the thing, I talked to you off air about this. I understand Netanyahu's between a rock and a hard place. He's got the political left on his, and he's got the United States putting pressure. And here's the other thing that you and I have both learned, because we supply the IDF. Israel put themselves in a very precarious position militarily, and it's because they don't manufacture their own weapons. Now, they're starting to do a little bit, but that's why where you and I have come in, we're bulletproof vests, we're putting helmets on the guys, boots, stuff like that. They didn't have it, because they have been completely dependent on the United States. Well, that puts Israel and Netanyahu in a precarious position, because if they're going to survive over there, they need our munitions. And we learned this from Caroline Glick. That mistake made them dependent on Trump, made them dependent on the United States. And look, you're one administration away from another Joe Biden saying, we're going to cut your weapons off if you don't do what we tell you to do. And that's the situation Israel finds itself. And I think that's where I find Netanyahu is, what is he going to say to Trump? Trump could easily say, I'm going to cut you off. I don't think Trump would ever do that.
I don't think, but we only have, another 3 years, and then what?
Right. But then, what do we do after 3 years? And Israel has put themselves in that kind of position that makes them dependent on people, and they have to do sometimes what they're told. And so under the Biden administration, he was slow walking the arms, the bunker busters and all that. And Netanyahu kind of had to play that pretty skillfully politically.
Right.
But I think the acceptance of this coming from Trump, the pressure from the United States put that pressure on Netanyahu. And I don't think it was a good deal. Look, you know me, I'm a Christian Zionist. That doesn't mean I agree with everything the Israeli government does.
Same.
Right. When they give Gaza away, I think that was stupid, and it cost them. So I think even in accepting this deal, I think it puts them in a precarious position, because just like Caroline Glick, if you're not going to be able to annex Judea and Samaria, and you're not going to annex the Gaza, you still then have the Palestinians that still want to kill you there. So
that's right.
It didn't solve the problem.
And they're there. They already are there. And right now, in this new deal that Trump put in place, a total of 2,000 Palestinian, many of them with life sentence, many of them who have killed.
They're murderers.
They're murderers. They're rapists. They're going to be released. And you need to remember, you need to be told this, and as you're listening, some of you are probably thinking like, well, this is a one-sided view. In 2015, there was a Jewish soldier, an Israeli soldier by the name of Gilad Shalit, who had been a hostage for I don't know how long, about what, 2-3 years,
Yeah.
a long time, and he was released for the release was they got him back and they gave 1,500 Palestinians out of prison. One of them, his name was Yahya Sinwar.
Yes,
And
right.
Yahya Sinwar, who was released at that time, was the mastermind behind October 7th. So what makes you think it's not going to happen again?
Totally. They're not going to turn a new leaf.
Yeah, so my next question on my list was, can Hamas be trusted? I guess we kind of just answered that question, right?
Not as far as you can throw them. And so that's the thing. This is the weird thing, and maybe I'm just a dumb rube from Bakersfield with hay in my mouth.
Can anything good come out of Bakersfield?
I don't know. Buck Owens did, and Merle Haggard did.
There you go. There you go.
Right.
There you go.
But here's my take on this. So where does this go from here? Okay, so Israel's not secure, and they're in a precarious position with us, and so they're going to have the technocrats run the Gazan. You still are surrounded by enemies that hate you, and we still know prophecy that there's a Psalm 83 possibility, a Gog of Magog, and so I don't see things getting better for Israel. I see them getting worse. And then you're the anti-Semitism expert, and I'm seeing this coalesce at the same time. So you have all the neighbors around Israel hating her, and then at the same time, the anti-Semitism, dude, this is like a perfect storm for Israel.
It is right now. Hamas being eradicated, and honestly, Brendan, if it was me, it's not. It's a good thing we're not at the head of Israel or U.S. You and I.
Yeah.
We do what we do, and we stay in our lane.
Yeah.
Because if it was me, I would say get the hostages back, and the minute after you get them back,
Wipe them out.
carpet bomb.
Carpet bomb.
Because it's already
absolutely.
I mean, you've got the broken tunnels and everything. You can level the whole
You have
place
to.
and rebuild from the ashes.
Yes, right.
And but they're not going to do that because even Israel, which is the only democracy in the Middle East, Israel really, in many ways, they act like a Western country.
Yes.
And so their response to the radical Islam cult of death is the respect for life, and they'll go out of their way to save Palestinian lives.
That's right.
To take Palestinians to the hospital, and get them fixed, so they can go back on the street and say, I want to kill more
right.
Jews.
That's right.
And it's crazy. So it's not going to get any better.
No, I agree.
And right now, the problem is if Hamas gets completely eradicated, there's probably another group, we don't know the name yet, that's going to come up because the ideology exists.
Absolutely. So now you're hitting on a good point, and I'm glad you said that because what I have learned by being over in Israel is I learned that their clans, their families, their tribes, all through the Palestinians. It's not just one monolithic group. In fact, there are family divisions, and they all war against each other. The guy who was saying this, I guess, I can't remember his name, the son of Hamas.
Yes, I know who he is. I don't know him, but I know of him. Yeah, I know who he is.
So he's great. I love him. He was an Israeli spy and was helping the Israelis. Anyway, he was saying, okay, so you get rid of Hamas. The problem is there are 32, and I'm just making the number up, but it's a lot, different families that think like Hamas, but they're Islamic this, Islamic that.
Same ideology,
They're similar,
Yeah.
but they're terrorist organizations under a family tribe. And I never had known that until he had broken that out and explained that. So you're totally right. You take out Hamas, then you got another family you're going to have. It's like Italian mafia is the way I kind of related it to. And that's all through Judea and Samaria and the Gaza with the Palestinians.
I have it on my presentation tomorrow as this mythical animal called the Hydra of Lerna, which is a monster with many heads. When you cut a head, 2 more grow.
Yeah, there you go. And it's that. So, Islamic Jihad, Fatah, and all these other groups are
ISIS,
there.
Boko Haram.
All those. So it just never ends.
Nope.
And so you're totally right. So You take care of Hamas, but then you're going to have to go back and deal with another group that rises, because there's an ideology over there, and you have said it the best. It's satanic, demonic, that keeps rising up against Israel.
And it will continue until Jesus returns.
That's right. And you know what I think I relate that to? I relate it to the typology of Cain and Abel. You know, and I see the Islamic world, I see the anti-Semitism being Cain. And why does Cain kill Abel? Well, he's mad at God. God will not accept his sacrifice, and then he has to get the sacrifice from Abel. He has to go through Abel to get the lambs to do blood sacrifice. He finally gets tired. I'm not going through Abel anymore. Well, then what are you going to do? I'm going to offer my own offerings. Well, you're going to be rejected if you do that. So he gets mad at God. So what does he take it out on? Abel.
Right.
It is a perfect picture, and I told the synagogue this. I said, you're Abel, and the rest of the world does not want to go to the Jewish Messiah through you, because the Messiah comes through Israel. They don't want to go through Israel. They want to go their own way. And so what do? They get mad that Israel's the chosen people, so they want to kill them.
That's right.
And I'm like, that whole thing is playing itself out today on a global scale. It's bizarre.
We have this peace plan that Trump has put in place, and it's, you know, the first phase is good. You know, the return of the hostages.
Return of the hostages.
Who knows what's going to happen after that? But how much do you think of this peace plan is initiated and pushed by Trump because he's got this delusion of grandeur that he's going to get and he probably will get the Nobel Peace Prize. And so I'm looking at it as his peace plan, the Nobel Peace Prize, the Abraham Accord, and the next thing is Daniel 9 and the signing of the covenant. How do you connect those things?
Yeah, I know.
Or do they connect?
Well, I think.
Or is there a momentum here?
I think there's a stage setting and the projection of where it's going, because Israel, again, it's an agreement. We're making a deal with the United States, and then eventually it's the Antichrist. But it's stage sets. And like I said, let me go back to the weapons. I go back to the weapons because that is a key thing in Isaiah 28. Because when Israel finally makes a covenant with the Antichrist, Isaiah 28 talks about it being for military purposes. It says to avoid the overflowing scourge. And the overflowing scourge is a Hebraism that means military invasion.
Right.
So Isaiah then gives the content of that Daniel 9 covenant. It's a military covenant. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, are you being pressured right now because you don't have a military wherewithal? Your Air Force you get from us, yes, you modify it, you soup it up and everything like that. But one day, will you be cut off from the United States and then have to turn to someone else to give you military protection? And I see that when they're making these deals, it's because Israel's in a weakened position militarily.
Right.
And they need the United States. And I'm thinking, am I seeing something here? Because I asked Caroline Glick, and you and I were there, and I've talked to other guys, hey, how close is Israel to being independent militarily? They're like, never. We're not.
Yeah.
We're trying to do what we can, but we're not going to get to that. And I'm like, well, then you've sealed your fate. You will eventually, it seems to me that America cuts Israel off, and they have to make a deal with someone else.
But don't you think that maybe Israel would have a bargaining chip with the Iron Dome technology?
Totally. And
you would hope.
And here's the other thing that Yoram Ettinger told me, and you and I both interviewed. I interviewed him separately from you. But here's what he told me. He goes, Brandon, what the strategic point about Israel for any country is that it's like having a permanent battleship in that location to control the whole entire Middle East. And when he said it to me, I thought, yeah, I never thought about it that way. Instead of us having our own ships there, you just have Israel there, and you can control the whole region. So I get, even from a military standpoint, why Israel's so important, because you're in the middle of 3 continents. Asia and Europe, and then Africa below you, and the whole Middle East is laid out before you. Yeah, I totally see how that's strategic. And so Israel does offer that, I believe.
Right.
I think that's one of
geographically, they're really centered. Yeah.
It is you have a water port, it's huge militarily. And so that's an offering that they can make, obviously. And I think that will be part of some of the offerings they'll make to the Antichrist. He can control the entire Middle East from them. So I'm like, okay, there's a bargaining chip there. I get it. And here's Yoram Yettinger said the same thing to me as we were talking about this. He says, here's the thing, Brandon. He goes, if you control that area, then any war that would come to the United States is prevented because you can fight the war over there. You don't have to fight it on your shores. So if you have a problem with Iran, you have a problem with any of these Middle Eastern countries, you fight the war there in Israel, and it never comes to your continent, as far as your country, because it never comes to North America.
Like we did in June?
Yes, like we did in June with Iran. And I'm like, okay, I totally get that. That makes total military sense, because if you're the president of the United States, like Trump, you don't want to fight here. I would rather just fight you over in Iran and take out your nuclear installations than you bring in this here to my people. And I'm like, okay, that makes total sense. So now I'm starting to see the incentive, not only from the Trump administration, but other administrations, of how important Israel is, and why Trump is influencing it. And again, Trump is not seeing this like you and I see it. He sees it as a completely financial decision.
Business deal.
Business deal.
Yeah.
But he's also thinking national security. Okay, so if I can get Israel to do this, then I can protect my people. And so I get it.
He does care for America.
He does.
There's no question about it.
It's America first, and he's very pragmatic about that.
Yes.
And that makes perfect sense. Okay, so at the same time, where does it put Israel? Well, Israel has a bargaining chip. But the problem is Israel's finances and their military are dependent on us. We still give them aid. I wish Israel would be completely financially independent. But this war has devastated them financially. It has hurt them so bad as far as tourism is concerned.
I know.
You
and I have been there, 3 or 4 times since the war?
Yeah. And it's zero people over there.
I know.
Nothing.
It's
hurt
bad.
them financially. It's hurt them financially because we talk to the soldiers, and both of you and I have talked to them. They haven't worked. So they're in the reserve. They get called up. They're gone for 6 months. They haven't worked. So that's why we're raising money for the families, because they don't have any money.
And I think that by law their job has to be kept for them, but in some cases they can't. But they haven't worked, and then the crops
the crops are not growing.
And then so it's not just the tourism. It's multi-level, breaking down of society in Israel. And this is why you and I, your church and our ministry, we've teamed up.
Yes.
And we do what we can.
But let me add this to it. The psychological effect that's happening. Okay, you know this. And this is where I think it, again, leads into the covenant with the Antichrist. They're getting broke down mentally. So here's what you know and I know, and our audience needs to know this. They're having not PTSD, they're having current stress disorder. So they're coming home, and the soldiers come home, they have the 1,000-yard stare because of what they've seen, and the wives are like, I ain't gonna be married to that. I didn't sign up for this, and so they're getting divorced.
Oh, there's so many, it's bad on so many levels. It's CTSD, it's current traumatic.
Yeah, CTSD.
Yeah, it's CTSD,
So
if
now,
that exists,
So now they're getting broken down on a mental level and an emotional level to where it's fatigue. It's a fatigue factor, okay? This has been the longest they've been fighting, right? So the last thing I heard is the fatigue factor is really having an effect on the people. Okay, well, I know, just me personally, when I'm fatigued, I'm gonna make bad decisions, and it starts wearing down on you. And when your population and the whole population has a mental fatigue, a current PTSD or whatever you want to call it, then depression, you're more in line to say, you know what? I don't want to fight. I just want to get this over.
Yeah.
Let's do a deal. I'll accept the bad in this deal as long as I can get this over. And I think that's the problem.
You think that's where they are right now?
I think it is. And
very possible.
And so it's a mental drain. It's, and so a lot of people don't factor that in on the human level. But you and I are over there. I'm watching them. I'm like,
oh yeah.
Oh my gosh!
There's a lot of damage. with the marriages, with the jobs, with the family breaking apart. I mean, it's been really bad. It's been really bad.
So now I think I understand something. Malachi talks about the return of Elijah. And he says he will turn the hearts of the fathers to the children and the children to the father. And I thought about that verse, and it's a Jewish idiom of reconciling division within the families.
Right.
And I'm like, well, yeah, that's exactly what I'm seeing. I'm seeing the families divided, their marriages are divided, they're having a hard time. I now can understand why Elijah would need to return to get the nation and the people and the family units unified again to accept the Messiah. Because
good point.
I've known, you know about evangelism, and what I've studied about evangelism is the more dysfunction that are in the family, the less likely the person will come to faith in the Messiah. And it becomes a stumbling block. It's not impossible, but it becomes a stumbling block.
Right.
Okay, so I think about what's happening in Israel, the trauma, just the sustained trauma creates division, so they're getting divorced and having problems. Well, now I get it, why Elijah has to come back and restore things to prep them to receive the Messiah. Everything starts making sense when you see the condition that Israel's in.
And there are so many opportunities right now in Israel for to make a difference.
Yes, totally.
Your church and our ministry, and with the Olive Tree Ministries with John Markell, we've partnered and we've done work, and I really appreciate what's happening right now because it's opening a lot of doors for us. I mean, at the end of the day, really, we want the gospel to go out. So it's the saving gospel of Yeshua, and we're talking about eternal life. That's the most important part. But in the process, like, why are we bringing helmets and vests? And because I tell people all the time, well, we got to make sure we keep them alive so we can get them saved.
That's right.
Because they can't get saved if they die.
Yes.
So there is an obligation to keep them alive so we can earn the right to speak. And you told me this a few years ago, and I never forgot. You said, Olivier, as Christians, we have now entered the time when we need skin in the game.
Yeah, amen.
And a lot of Christians support Israel in their prayer, and that's great. That's a good foundation. And send money to missions, and that's good too. But right now, it was Keith, one of your staff people who goes to Israel. I don't know how many times a year
like
now.
Almost every month now.
Right. He just arrived today, actually.
Yeah.
I'm going to see him next week. And Keith said that, and I've been using it over and over because it really describes exactly what we're doing. The ministry of presence.
Yes.
Skin in the game. We're there. We buy supplies. Yes, we bring we raise money. You raise money through your church. I raise money through Shalom and Messiah. But, we could just send the stuff and say, okay, here's the money. Buy what you need. And sometimes we do that because, we can always be there.
Right.
But when we bring stuff, when I got back in August and we brought those vests and we opened the boxes in the living room, and in all the reservist soldiers were putting them on, you see in their eyes.
Yeah.
And then I've gotten videos from them. They said, Olivier, we want to let you know your vest and Bakersfield and you, and they've already saved lives.
Yeah, totally.
What do you do with that? They've already saved lives.
Right.
So that's skin in the game.
Yeah.
That's where, if you're looking for ministry to support, either Bakersfield, Rock Harbor, Bakersfield through Pastor Brendan, or Shalom and Messiah, we make a difference in Israel so that we can share the gospel.
Yeah.
Why are so few churches involved in that?
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm a little perplexed. I already know theologically that a lot of churches are replacement theology, so I'm counting them out. But here's what I don't understand. In our own circle, the pro-Israel camp, the dispensational, pre-trib, premillennial, all those guys, okay, where are they in putting their money where their mouth is? So here we are. You and I developed this. I mean, a door opened and we went through it.
Grassroots. I mean,
grassroots.
We met. We said,
let's do something.
Just do it.
Yeah,
just do it.
And we found a way, and God opened the door.
Yes.
So we didn't invent anything. God did it. So anyone out there could have done the same thing, but they didn't.
There are some do, okay?
Yeah, some
it's not just us, okay?
Right, no, no.
There are a few. We don't want to be, but
the majority are
enough.
not.
Right.
Okay? The majority are not. And my thing is, okay, how come by this point you haven't found an outlet to figure out how to help them? By this point, you would think, I'm going to do an internet search and find, is this organization doing anything? And there's a lot of Jewish organizations. And there's a lot of people in Israel that have ministries over there. And I go on their websites and they're not doing anything. And I'm dumbfounded by this, Olivier, and I don't know what to think about this.
I don't know what to think either. I mean, I know of some very, very large Jewish ministries currently right now that I had a lady call me recently, and she said, Olivier, we want to support Shalom and Messiah to help the IDF because this ministry that we are connected with, when we asked, they said, we're not set up for that right now. It's a ministry that raises millions of dollars.
Yeah.
For Israel.
For Israel, huh?
And I'm going like, okay, so, and I don't want to name names, we're not into character assassination. We're just puzzled. We're puzzled that the time is now. And we're talking here I'm talking to my audience, I'm talking to you, you're talking to your audience. And as I've said to you earlier, we are pro-Israel, and we're not ashamed of it. We're proud to be pro-Israel. But friends, we need to kick it up a notch.
Yeah.
We now become proactive for Israel.
Amen.
That's where we get skin in the game. That's
Amen.
and so you really need to be involved. I want to ask you about this passage. I want you to comment on it because I love this passage. I use it all the time. The sheep and the goats.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
And so, is it for the church? Is it a church? I set you up here. Tell us, what is it all about?
Well, that's the funny thing is, the woke church will take the sheep and goat judgment in Matthew 25 as the social justice warrior passage. You were hungry and I fed you. You were in prison and I went and visited you. And so they take that as social justice. The problem is you're in the Olivet Discourse, which means you're contextually bound by what the Olivet Discourse is trying to get across. And that means you're in the end times, you're in the tribulation. And the interesting thing that Messiah says, he says, when you've done it to the least of these, my brethren. Now,
not the brethren are not the church.
They're not the church.
They're the Jewish people by the flesh. Yeah.
And so I did a little investigation. I said, where did he get that from, the brethren? Because that's a note. And so I looked back and I found it in Malachi chapter 2, I think it is, or Malachi chapter 3 or 5. Can't remember. I'm going off the top of my head. But it's in Malachi.
Right.
And so he goes through Malachi and he is explaining what he's going to do. And then he throws in the remnant of Israel and calls them my brethren in Malachi. And I said, that's it. That's where he gets the term my brethren. It's not the church. It's the remnant of Israel.
It's not the Brethren Church.
No, it's not. Not the brethren, the Mennonite brethren or anything like that. So all of a sudden that frames the whole thing in context. Oh, so when you've done it to the least of these, my Jewish remnant, you've done it unto me. So that brings a whole new light on the passage. So
who is he addressing when he's talking?
So he's addressing the Gentile nations, the Gentiles, the saved, which are represented the sheep on the right, and then the goats on the left, where the unsaved. And one of the key characteristics of that dispensation, as far as the tribulation is concerned, in that time period, the hallmark of the evidence of their Christianity is what they did with the Jewish people. And so think about this. Messiah is going to reward them because he's already separated them out. He's going to reward them on how they treated Israel, or punish them based on how they treated Israel. Again, we're not I don't want people to make a mistake and say salvation's based on being pro-Israel or anti-Israel.
And it's not salvation by works either.
No.
Because we want to make that clear.
No, it's not that. It's the evidence of it. It's the fruit.
It's the fruit of salvation. Yes.
Of that. And it's regarding rewards. And so what he is saying in principle is one of the hallmarks of being a believer in the tribulation is how you treat Israel. That will be the evidence of it. And this is how I'm going to reward you. Okay. Well, then I can take a principle from that and apply it to now. If Messiah is saying, look, the quintessential thing I'm going to use in rewarding you or punishing you in judgment is how you treated Israel, I think he means business.
I think so.
I think it applies now that you better be on the right side of this one. Because if you're not, woe unto you. I'm not talking about salvation, but I'm talking believers. Look, you're going to lose rewards if you forget the nation of Israel. That's what a believer will lose. They'll lose rewards.
Very important. And yeah, we're not saying, and some have said, wrongly that if you don't support Israel, if you don't love Israel, you will not be raptured, or you'll lose your salvation.
Nonsense.
That's not biblical. Sometimes I wish. Never mind. But it's not biblical. Yeah, you're going to lose rewards. That's for sure. But you're right. The principle is something that can and should be applied today. I'll give an example. And Brandon and I and Tom Hughes were talking about this. I think over a year ago, and we came up with this idea of no synagogue left behind, where a pastor can call a rabbi and say, "Hey, I'm pastor of the church of so and so in your town, and we have a security team that meets every Sunday morning for security for the church during the service, but we are free on Friday night and Saturday morning. We'd like to meet with you and introduce our team to you and get to know each other, and we'd like to provide you with security for free when you do your services."
That's right.
You've done it.
We've done it.
Successfully.
Absolutely.
I know another pastor friend of mine who's at the conference as well, who did it, and I heard the rabbi call him in the car when I was driving in Texas for a conference, and the rabbi says, "Hey, we're ready for Rosh Hashanah. Your team is going to come. We're looking forward to have them. We are really, really blessed. This is such a great blessing to have you do that." I mean, I was almost in tears.
Yeah.
This is it. This is skin in the game.
That's how you do it.
It's not that complicated.
No. I mean,
it's a matter of the heart.
It's a matter of heart. No, I'll even go even further. We had an incident in Bakersfield where they turned over the Jewish headstones in one of the cemeteries.
Right.
And it was in one of our cemeteries. Well, the easiest thing you can do is what I did. I picked up the phone and called the rabbis that I know. "Hey, man, you guys okay? I saw what happened. I just want to let you know we have your back, and we're going to do anything we can to protect you." And then I just added, "Hey, on top of this, to show you our solidarity with you, let me buy your Shabbat, we'll cater your Shabbat dinner next Friday." And that's all I did. That's all you have to do. And they were like floored that we would even reach out to them and provide a meal, just a catered meal, but also just telling them, "We have your back. You can trust us. We will do what we can." It's that easy.
It's that simple. I mean, I don't want to brag, but it reminds me of something I did when there is this little bagel shop in our town, and something happened to the home of the owners when they caught on fire, and they really it was like a panic mode. It was an accident, but we sent them like an Uber Eats card for
something like that.
And you say, "Listen, you don't have time to cook."
Yeah.
So the ministry, well, she knows I'm a Jewish believer. She posted on her Facebook page, "Shalom and Messiah blessed us." Those are the little things.
That's right.
But it's like makes a difference.
It does. It opens the door.
And so we can all do something. The time is now. The time is now.
Amen.
And we need to wrap this up because there's so much more I wanted to talk about. but I'm also hungry.
I am too. We're gonna have some dinner.
We're gonna have some dinner. So friends, listen. Where can people find you?
You can go to rockharborchurch.net or Tip of the Spear Ministries. And then I have another website, Brandon Holthaus Ministries, and you can find all of our information. And again, if you want to help Israel, you go through Shalom in Messiah, or you go through Rock Harbor. In both ways, you can help, and the money gets there. And here's what happens: we're supplying, but we're also witnessing. I had a conversation with a guy in the Valley of Megiddo about Mount Carmel and the Battle of Armageddon. That wouldn't have happened had it not you bought the razor for them, and he was giving me a ride in the razor, and I said, "This is why we're doing this for you." So that's how it works.
Opens a lot of doors. I had a chance to share my testimony at the house that we're renting with the partnership with the ministry, and give Hebrew New Testaments one person at a time. That's what we do.
That's how you do it.
That's what we do because of the gospel and for the gospel. Brendan,
Amen.
So where can people find you again?
rockharborchurch.net, tipofthespearministries.com, or brandonholthausministries.com.
And if they ever want to buy a book by you, is there such a thing?
Yeah, I have a new book.
Just came out, right?
Just came out, yeah.
What is it?
It's called Eternal Rewards. I'm dealing with the 5 crowns, and you can go to Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, any place like that. Get the book. It's the first volume of rewards. The second volume, I'm going to deal with rewards in Revelation 2 and 3. So if you're interested in personal eschatology, like what happens to me and my rewards and things of that nature, get that book. It'd be great for you.
Thank you,
Okay, man.
Brendan. Until next time.
Yes, we'll see you.
Shalom.
Yep. Shalom, shalom.
Be blessed.
See you guys.